General Hospital spoilers tease that a new obsession has quietly infiltrated Valentin's life, something nameless, shapeless, yet with the power to tear down every defense he has carefully built over the years. From his first days back in Port Charles, he has felt like someone is watching him, as though invisible eyes are following his every move from the shadows. Initially, Valentin thought it was just psychological fallout from years of living in suspicion and betrayal. But then, small details began to add up into a bigger picture: cryptic messages, strangers appearing and disappearing without a trace, and the strange silence from enemies who had once openly challenged him. Valentin, a man who has faced death many times, knows something feels different this time. The fear doesn't come from bullets or direct conspiracies. It comes from a feeling of being unable to control the situation, from some unseen force manipulating his story. What's happening is no longer coincidence, it's a sophisticated manipulation of the plot. And this manipulation inadvertently confirms the worst: Valentin's death has already been written. Anna realizes this before Valentin even admits it to himself. She no longer sees the confident, calculating man she once knew. Instead, there's a worried gaze, a hoarse voice, and a heart in panic, hidden beneath a cold exterior. Anna tries to hold on to him, tries to pull him out of the spiral, but she understands, something has gone beyond their control. She's lost too many people. She can't lose Valentin too. In a rare moment, Valentin stands alone on the docks, a place once reserved for secret meetings, now turned into a confrontation with harsh truths. He doesn't say it, but deep in his eyes, there's acceptance. He knows this: when a character is pushed into a corner with no way out, death is not the end, it's a necessary shift for the story to continue. And now, he is that piece. Jason quietly watches, still hoping to find a loophole to turn things around. But all the information leads to one conclusion: there is an underground force wanting Valentin gone, and this time, not temporarily. Sonny, who once saw him as a suspect, is beginning to waver. Valentin's relationship with Anna and Laura is causing Sonny to reconsider. But he knows, once a story is rewritten, no one can intervene without facing the consequences. Carly, after discovering the poisoned champagne bottle, still can't fully comprehend what's going on. She knows one thing: someone is using everyone she loves as pawns in a big game. And at the center of that chessboard is Valentin. Charlotte, though young, is not as naive as everyone thinks. She quietly eavesdrops on conversations, hides her tears behind closed doors, and writes in her diary things no one dares to say aloud. In Charlotte's heart, her father is a hero, the only one who never gives up. But now, she sees a man growing weaker, not from external wounds, but from cracks in his trust, in his hope for survival. Will Valentin really die? Or is this a ruse for him to escape from enemies in the shadows? If his death is confirmed, who is behind that brutal script? And if Valentin disappears, is Port Charles ready for the storm that's coming? A disaster is looming. And this time, no one may be able to stop it. In the shadows of the schemes quietly shifting Port Charles, an unexpected name steps into the storm: Alexis. Once the moral compass, the voice of reason amidst the Cassadine family's chaos, Alexis no longer wants to remain an observer. She's been silent for too long. She's seen too much. And more importantly, she's lost too much that she believed should have belonged to Nikolas, the grandson she's always considered a son. Valentin has long become the symbol of an out-of-place Cassadine: cunning, ruthless, scheming, and never truly punished. Alexis had tried to accept his existence, tried to find common ground. But the more she saw Nikolas being pushed aside, losing power, and being weighed down by the past, the more she saw Valentin as the root of the problem. Every move Valentin made, every covert strategy, only deepened Nikolas' losses, family, trust, and more recently, his very sense of self. Alexis began to plan, not hastily, not impulsively, but coldly calculating every step. Meetings with key players, news selectively spread, shady contacts with forces working against Valentin, everything is arranged like chess pieces on a Cassadine board. She doesn't need to strike directly, just enough to push Valentin toward the abyss, where everyone will believe he deserves to fall. And then, one day, shocking news spreads throughout Port Charles: Valentin is dead. No one knows exactly who killed him, but all signs point to someone who knows him very well, smart enough to hide all traces, and with enough reason to want him gone. Alexis remains silent. No tears. No unusual reactions. But in her cold, sharp eyes, something has broken, not from guilt, but from victory. A victory bought at the cost of abandoning the last remnants of humanity within her. But Alexis didn't realize that her actions, if she is indeed involved, would ignite a far more terrifying wave: Nikolas. Since Valentin's death, Nikolas is no longer the man who hid in doubts and shadows of the past. He's become sharper, more dangerous, and there's a new fire in his eyes: desire. Not just for power, but for rebirth, to rise from the ashes of his own destruction. But along with that desire comes a rising chaos. Nikolas begins to act erratically. He trusts no one. He even starts to doubt Alexis, the one who's always been on his side. His actions grow extreme, unpredictable. Valentin's former allies are ruthlessly eliminated. He talks about purging the family, about restoring the Cassadine honor at any cost, making those close to him shudder. Laura feels this change, but there's no way to stop it. Spencer is torn, longing for his father to return to his former self, but afraid Nikolas has gone too far. Charlotte is caught in the storm of loss and fear. She seems to know more than she lets on and may hold the key to a terrible secret. And Alexis, the woman who thought she was protecting Nikolas, is starting to realize that she may have freed a wild beast kept caged too long. Is Valentin really dead? Or is it all a grand scheme Valentin is orchestrating from the shadows to expose all those who betrayed him? If that's the case, what consequences will Alexis, the woman who once believed in justice, face for pushing her grandson into darkness she can't pull him from? A bold plan, a confirmed death, a survivor growing mad. Port Charles has never faced such devastating destruction before. A real seismic shock has just swept through the world of General Hospital. James Patrick Stewart, a longtime actor in the role of Valentin, has officially been removed from the cast without any prior notice. This sudden departure has not only left the audience stunned but also created a massive void in a storyline that was entering its peak phase. And what's even more frightening is that no one, not even veteran characters, can predict the consequences this decision will have on the entire story structure. Valentin was not just a character, he was a symbol. An introspective anti-hero, a man carrying old wounds and a thirst for love, someone who transformed from an enemy into an ally, who once stood in the shadows but always had his own reasons for acting. James Patrick Stewart didn't just act, he lived his role. And now, with the producer's unexpected decision, that image has been abruptly severed, like a knife cutting through the audience's memories. Rumors began to spread. Some backstage sources suggested that Stewart and the producers failed to reach an agreement on the character's upcoming direction. Negotiations broke down, disagreements about the new madness the writer's room was pursuing, all leading to an irreparable result. One of GH's cornerstones had to leave. New madness, that is the phrase being mentioned frequently in fan groups, as well as in leaked script meetings from backstage. It seems the producers are heading toward a new era, a restructuring of the storyline, where old characters are being replaced to make room for new faces, with bold, controversial directions, and even breaking long-standing traditions of General Hospital. And the removal of James Patrick Stewart may be just the beginning of an approaching storm. The fan response has been far from gentle. Social media exploded with hashtags like #BringBackValentin and #JusticeForJames. Loyal viewers, some of whom have been watching GH for decades, are raising their voices strongly against the removal of such a deep character and beloved actor without a proper explanation. Many feel that GH is slowly losing its way by opting for shocking decisions instead of staying true to the depth of character development. In the world of Port Charles, Valentin's sudden disappearance has serious consequences. Anna, who was once closely connected to him, now finds herself directionless. She had believed that they could overcome everything, that they still had a chance to start fresh. His silence has plunged her into a crisis, not only because of a broken love but also because she feels that he didn't leave voluntarily. Charlotte, his young daughter who had witnessed her father being misunderstood countless times, now faces a loss with no explanation. No one can answer her, "Where is your father? Is he still alive? Was he taken by someone? Or has Port Charles, once home, become the last place he set foot?" Jason, Sonny, Nikolas, each of them had their own connection to Valentin. Whether as an adversary or an ally, whether they had doubted or hated him, they couldn't deny that his absence disrupted all their plans. Especially Nikolas, who now finds himself in a state of a new madness, where all the emotions he had kept bottled up suddenly explode. Without Valentin as a counterbalance, Nikolas is lost, and may become someone he no longer controls. So what is really going on? Is Valentin's death real? Or is it just a way for James Patrick Stewart to quietly step back, preparing for a shocking return? Is GH getting ready for the biggest twist in its history, one that will either make the audience erupt in excitement or turn their backs entirely? Right now, everything remains shrouded in mystery. But one thing is certain, the earthquake named James Patrick Stewart has not only shaken the General Hospital backstage but is also rewriting the entire structure of Port Charles. And within that chaos, a new madness is slowly rising. Charlotte was once just a lost child in the complex world of adults, a little girl with Cassadine blood, but always trying to escape the dark fate of her family. She was a symbol of hope, the reason Valentin found the human side within himself, a tiny light that made people believe that the past could be changed, that mistakes could be redeemed with love. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything collapsed. Valentin, the father, the friend, the only protector Charlotte had, suddenly disappeared from her life. No goodbye, no message left behind. Just emptiness, avoiding gazes, and whispered words behind closed doors. Adults always think children don't understand. But Charlotte understood, and she felt betrayed in the most painful way. Since Valentin's disappearance, she has not been the same. Sleepless nights, scribbled pages in her journal, and eyes that grow darker each day. She no longer trusts Anna, who was once her father's close ally. She no longer trusts Laura, the grandmother who used to comfort her when she was scared. She no longer trusts anyone, because everyone stayed silent when her father needed them the most. Charlotte started to change. She silently listened in on adult conversations, eavesdropped on phone calls, and took note of every tiny detail in her journal. And then, in the darkness, she began to arrange the pieces like her father used to. She saw things the adults tried to hide. She knew that Valentin's death, if it truly was a death, was not a coincidence. It was a plot. A deliberate erasure. And the most dangerous part, Charlotte no longer cried. She wasn't begging for the truth. She wasn't seeking comfort. She was planning. Quietly. Carefully. With intelligence and calm far beyond her years. And that makes those around her, if they are smart enough, begin to feel fear. In the real world, among the loyal General Hospital fans, a similar shift is happening, but on a much larger scale. When the news of James Patrick Stewart's firing spread, fans couldn't believe their eyes. Not a supporting role. Not a newcomer. This was Valentin, one of the most complex and beloved characters on GH, portrayed by a talented actor with all the emotional depth and dedication. And he was removed as if he had never existed. No farewell. No emotional last scene. No official announcement explaining why. Everything happened like a nightmare in silence, just like how Charlotte is facing her pain on screen. The outrage spread like wildfire. From social media to fan groups, from longtime followers to the newer generation of viewers, everyone is asking one question: what is GH doing to its legacy? Do they want to reinvent? Want new madness? What about the loyalty of the millions of viewers? What about the years they've invested emotionally in every character, every relationship, every battle? And sadly, as Charlotte's character becomes darker, as a little girl who once symbolized hope now becomes a symbol of anger and betrayal. She is also the perfect representation of General Hospital's current audience. They feel abandoned, betrayed, deceived by the very people they trusted for so many years. If Charlotte continues down this dangerous path, no one can be sure what will happen. She has Valentin's intelligence, Helena's determination, and now a heart full of wounds that cannot heal. And GH, if it continues to ignore the true feelings of its fans, is stepping into a dangerous dark zone, where not every character can be rewritten, and not every mistake can be fixed with a last-minute twist. A character like Valentin is removed. An actor like James Patrick Stewart leaves without a word. A little girl like Charlotte is losing control. And a community of fans is outraged beyond measure. This is no longer an issue of one individual. This is a disaster, both on screen and off. And if General Hospital doesn't quickly fix this mistake, they might lose the most valuable thing, the loyalty they have built for over half a century.